new giveaway.
The D&D Beyond Players Bundle.
Tons of character options.
Make sure you like, subscribe, and comment down below on the video so you're entered to win a great giveaway coming from us very soon.
Alright guys, welcome back to Urge. Moving on to the subclass series, onto the next subclass, which is the Bladesinging Wizard, which has been slightly updated for Tasha's Cauldron of Everything.
Which is why we didn't do it out of the Sword Coast book when it was originally from there. We were going to wait intentionally until we knew this was going to be updated in this book.
And it was indeed changed. So, without any further ado, if you're new to the channel, to the subclass series, what we're going to do is we're going to go over all the abilities gained in the subclass, and then we're going to rate it based on its roleplay value, combat value, and overall class synergy, based on how the abilities gained in this subclass improve on the base class abilities. Today's video is brought to you by Neverending and their new Kickstarter. Give a face to all of those characters and NPCs that have been living in your head. With Neverending, you can create and customize all kinds of characters with a variety of features, weapons, armor, poses, and more. Play online, you can make character tokens to use in your games. You can even turn iconic moments from your campaigns into webcomics and recreate memorable scenes. The character beta is available now, so make sure to check it out and support their Kickstarter today. Alex, take it away.
Boom. Level 2. 2 abilities. It's great. Level 2, 2 things. First of all, training in war and song. Proficiency with light armor. Wizards can slightly live longer. And you gain proficiency with one type of a one-handed melee weapon of choice. Also gain proficiency in the performance skill, if you don't already have it. So, take your one melee weapon. Doesn't say martial weapon. Just one melee weapon.
Yeah, one-handed.
One-handed. No great axe wielding wizards. That'd be kind of fun, though. The other thing you get is the whole ability this subclass is based around, which is indeed your Blade Song. Elven magic called the Blade Song, provided that you aren't wearing medium or heavy armor or using a shield. You get supernatural speed, agility, and focus. As a bonus action, you can cast this ability, lasts for 1 minute, ends early if you're incapacitated, or if you use any of the armor or shields listed above, because you can't do that, or two-handed weapons, all those things. Also, while it's active, the things you're actually worried about here, you get a bonus to your AC equal to your intelligence modifier. So, tanky wizard. Your walking speed's increased by 10 feet. You have advantage on acrobatics checks. Gain bonus to any constitution saving throw used to maintain concentration. There it is. Bonus, again, equal to your intelligence modifier. You're casting a stat as a wizard. Use this feature number of times equal to your proficiency bonus and regain all when you finish a long rest. So, the changes there from the original is, well, first of all, for the whole subclass, you had to be an elf originally to be able to do this subclass. Thankfully, they wised up to that and fixed that.
Anyone can do this.
Anyone can do this that wants to, as long as you're a wizard, obviously. That's kind of a given still. But originally it was 2 uses, and you got them back every short or long rest. But it was still just 2 uses, where this is scales your proficiency, but you get them all back on a long rest instead. So
DM dependent, campaign dependent, how often short rests are coming up. Balance is either nerf or buff depending on the situation, so hard to gauge.
Yep, pretty much it.
Then at level 6, we have extra attack, but it's not just any regular extra attack.
This is extra attack on steroids.
You can attack twice instead of once whenever you take the attack action on your turn. Moreover, you can cast one of your cantrips in place of one of those attacks. This is another one of the changes that happened in Tasha's. It used to just be a regular extra attack, but now you can use a cantrip instead of one of the attacks. So you can go, sword attack, and then cantrip, booming blade, or green flame blade, or something like that. Or you could do like a light crossbow, proficiency with wizards, light crossbow attack, and then a cantrip as well, like a firebolt or something. So some versatility on there. Then at level 10, we have a Song of Defense. You can direct your magic to absorb damage while your Blade Song is active. When you take damage, you can use your reaction to expend 1 spell slot and reduce the damage to you by an amount equal to 5 times the spell slot's level. So you expend a 3rd level spell slot, you save 15 health. I think the thing that's going to be more important with this is maybe reducing damage for concentration checks in general.
Yeah.
If you're trying to keep something up like a haste or something, that's going to help. But because there's not a ton of health that you're really preventing, that's going to probably be worth using.
But as a wizard, all health is important health because you don't have any.
Yes. Yeah, I feel like your spells would be better used for things like absorb elements, mirror image, shield, things like that. Counterspell versus
counterspell.
So yes,
always counterspell.
And then lastly, we have Song of Victory at level 14. You can add your intelligence modifier, minimum of 1, to the damage rolls of your melee weapon attacks while Bladesong is active.
It's important.
So if you have like a mix of intelligence and dex, you're going to be adding both, or I guess technically you could do strength, but usually one-handed weapons, you're probably going to want to lean towards a dex build. Also, it's going to help your armor class a little bit more if you have the light armor on there.
Right.
So, makes more sense. So, a nice little way to bump up the floor damage on the Bladesong. But those are all the abilities gained in the subclass, so pretty straightforward, pretty simple.
Yep.
So let's move straight on into the rating portion of the video. First up is the roleplay value asterisk, as always. Talking about roleplay value, we're talking about interacting with the world around you, interacting with NPCs, non-combat scenarios, avoiding combat, basically things outside of the initiative order. Not talking about your class fantasy, history, lore, background. That's on you as a player. Can't rate you as a player, but we can rate the abilities gained in the subclass and how they might improve your potential in roleplay scenarios. So, looking at this subclass, as you can tell, pretty much everything on here is going to be combat-based.
Yep.
I mean, you're reducing damage, you're dealing extra damage with extra attacks, you're dealing extra damage while Bladesong is active, you're Bladesonging to deal more damage and move a little bit more, which I guess is very, very, very niche. Like, that'd be very expensive use to gain 10 foot of movement speed. For RP purpose, doesn't really make sense. Mm-hmm. So the only little tiny thing you're going to get in the roleplay department is the proficiency with a performance skill.
Boy.
If you don't already have it.
Yeah.
Mind you. So
but it's one of those things
that's
like
it.
You wouldn't take it if you knew you were going to be a Bladesinging Wizard. Like, you would know. You would take something else.
You would sincerely hope. Otherwise, you'd be giving that player a very weird side glance. If you're like,
or be a good DM and let them take something else if they already have it.
Yeah, sure.
That's what the unwritten rule thing is like.
But the book doesn't say it, Alex. You have to do exactly what the book says. So,
not my campaign, you don't.
All that being said, we just gave it a lonely, solitary 1 in the RP department because it is severely lacking. Though the combat
almost did a half.
Yeah. It does have very, very, very incredibly niche uses with the Bladesong, but very expensive. But performance. It got something. So
it got something. It got a whole 1.
Yes.
And as always with these videos, if something is very weak and limited in one area, it usually excels in another. And that's definitely the case here, where the focus is significantly higher on the doing the damage and the hurting things, aka combat. So with Bladesong, getting a bonus to your AC based on your intelligence modifier is going to be your main stat anyway, because you are indeed a wizard. You're the only one that really cares about intelligence for any serious amount outside of specific subclasses, obviously. Getting able to move faster, increase 10 feet of movement, great. Acrobatics checks, okay, fine. And then being able to add your intelligence modifier on top of your concentration checks, also very, very good. Something that Jameis and I talked about, if you're going to be running this, you're probably going to be using more buff type spells and then like control spells, stuff like, and defensives, obviously. The counterspell obviously is good for everybody, always counterspell. But stuff obviously like haste to give yourself all the swings, or anything that buffs your weapon attacks, elemental weapon, if you can get access to that, something like that to make your weapon attacks hurt more. Then defensives, obviously, shield, blur, things like that to be able to get around. But haste is obviously the go-to thing, primarily because more attacks, more AC.
Right.
We talked about the absurdity of the fact that you actually could get quite close to a mid-20s AC.
Yes. Not actually that hard to do.
Without
even casting shield.
Without casting shield and without wearing a shield.
Yeah, if you have haste and Bladesong up, and if you have, assuming you have a 5 in Dex and Intelligence, which is possible.
By the time you hit 16, 17, 18, 19,
it's definitely possible. Especially if you kind of just decide you want to go like full armor, low health kind of thing, which you do you. Mm-hmm. But if you wanted to do that, you had both of those. You would have, you could have studded leather armor. So that's going to be 12 plus your Dex modifier, so it would be 17 base.
Assuming you don't have a magic +1 studded leather, or if you don't along the way,
so
or something else.
Basic studded leather, 17 armor class, and then you're going to have haste, which is another +2, so 19.
So we're 19.
And then you have also, if you're in Bladesong, you have to add your intelligence modifier, so you have +5. That's a 24 AC without a shield.
Without any magic items.
Right, exactly. So you have magic items or other things too, you could easily have more than
24 is very possible, and higher is not impossible.
And you could definitely have something like mirror image. I mean, you have mirror image, blur, shield, all kinds of things to make it even harder to hit you.
You could definitely have for a single turn have an AC above 30.
Yeah,
for sure.
And you can just use all your spell slots for defensive things, like again counter spells for damage or absorb elements.
Give yourself resistance to damage.
Yeah, that would help if you're low health.
Yes. And of course, helping you maintain your concentration checks with that extra bonus on top of it, with your intelligence modifier is going to really help you out. Of course, extra attack is what it is, but it's not just any extra attack. The fact that you have the option to attack once and cantrip, so you can attack at melee, fire a cantrip at range, or you could melee cantrip and then fire a ranged crossbolt over here. So you've got, and the fact that you have access to melee cantrips, like the whole Booming Blade and Green Flame Blade, they kind of got a little rework with Tasha's book. You've got a lot of options and a lot of flexibility with your choices and how you spend your turn without actually having to go into the meat of your spell slots and how you do things. Song of Defense, again, reducing damage. Personal opinion, you got to be smart with that, knowing when because you're not really getting a lot of damage reduction for your value of your spell slot, but it's the important of that damage when it's coming in. Making sure to help keep concentration up, because if you catch some major screw you spell that's going to deal you 50 plus damage, being able to half that damage, cancel that damage out, any kind of thing is going to be huge to keep your big concentration. If you got like a dominate person on this guy, you don't want to have to end that thing earlier than you have to.
Yes.
And finally, Song of Victory, getting to add your intelligence modifier to the damage of your melee weapon attacks while Blade Song is active. That's important. Again, just helping you add. I think we did the math earlier. You could basically have like a plus 13 on your damage attacks.
Yeah, you can, depending on how things go, you can do some pretty wonky stuff.
There's definitely some. It's definitely very combat focused, but there are some limitations. Both with your final two abilities, you're spending your spell slots to reduce damage, which you have spells that can kind of do that for you a little bit already. And Blade Song has to be active for you get that extra damage on top of there. So we gave it a 4 out of a possible 5 on the combat. It's definitely focused there, although a little scary because no matter how much AC you can get, you still have no health because you're
you're gonna have very little health.
So there's definitely some risk there.
I think the biggest thing to point out again is if you go more of a dex build, it's gonna probably make more sense. And then you can go 2-weapon fighting where you can attack with. If you have light weapons, you can attack with their offhand. Just don't get to add your ability modifier to it. So you're gonna be able to, and you have extra attack, so you can you can attack with your dagger or short sword or whatever that you pick.
Yep.
And then
cantrip.
And then you can cantrip either Green Flame Blade or a Booming Blade, depending on the circumstance, or you could just shoot off a Firebolt or something. And then with your offhand, you can make another weapon attack, though you're not going to be able to add your ability modifiers to that one because it is just an offhand light weapon.
But it's still a third attack, essentially.
Right. So, and then, or you just attack twice as well.
Right.
That way you could add your modifier. If you have a +5 dex and +5 intelligence, you're going to be adding 10 to the attack.
Yeah.
So you attack twice with the dagger and you're adding 10 2 times. And I mean, it's still not bad.
Nope.
So there is that. And then the other thing, too, is you're like, well, my Blade Songs, I only get so many of them. It's like, yes, that is true. But if you're dex build and as wizards, you have light crossbow. So when you're not in Blade Song, you can kind of keep your distance, shoot off some light crossbow and then like a firebolt or whatever to do some extra damage from range. And then when your Blade Song is up, if you have haste as well, your movement speed is going to be crazy.
Yeah,
it's going to be able to fly all over the place.
80 feet is very likely.
So if you have 30-foot base and you get to add 10 from Blade Song and then haste doubles your speed, so you have 80 without dashing.
Yep. You're going to get to whatever you want to get to. Yeah.
So definitely very interesting on there. And I say all that kind of to segue into the synergy side of things as well. Having the light armor is nice. It can help save you from having to cast mage armor and stuff like that, and increase that base AC up for sure. The extra attack with the cantrip is actually super helpful for saving spell slots because you can deal reliable damage without having to expend spell slots, and you can use more defensive spells in that regard. You're almost going to feel more like a warlock, I would say, almost in this regard. Yeah. Because you're going to, instead of Eldritch Blasting every turn, you're going to crossbow bolt and fire a firebolt or something like that. So you get some options.
Or dagger Green Flame Blade.
Right. You get the option to go melee or range depending on the circumstance.
Both at the same turn.
Exactly. So it is interesting on there. And then Song of Defense, another survivability option, is fine. It might help you in certain circumstances. Maybe bring down the save for a concentration check or something.
Mm-hmm.
Or, you know, if you have Warcaster and everything, then you just basically never drop concentration. If you reduce the damage and you have advantage and you get to add your modifiers and all this stuff, there's lots of ways you can make concentration checks very reliable. It's for things like slow or haste or other, you know, defensive spells. So all that being said, we went a 3.5 on this energy. Interesting, a little strange, kind of out of flavor for a
definitely
wizard.
goes against type
for the most part.
for a wizard, for sure.
I think something that's more along the lines of like a hexblade would make more sense to do like a caster, what they call like a gish, I guess, build, where you're kind of like a melee spellcaster kind of thing. But it is what it is. It is definitely very interesting, and you can do some pretty wonky stuff depending on how you want to build it.
If you're really creative and clever, you can do some shenanigans for sure.
Yes.
But again, this is one of those, like, there's not a lot of text there, but if you're creative,
Right.
you can do a lot of interesting things.
Yes. So guys, that's going to wrap up this video. But before we finish, we have... Or do we have a quote for her on this one? It's new, but it's not new. Does she say... She does have something.
She's got it.
All right.
Oh, she's got it.
What do we got?
When faced with the endless onslaught of magical possibilities, many wizards suffer identity crises. Some overcome, some break, and some become sword bards.
Sword bards?
Sword bards.
Sword bards. It's like a College of Swords bard, but not. Actually, there's some interesting comparisons.
But she's smart, because you're a wizard.
Yes. Wizardary. Thanks again to our sponsor Neverending. Make sure you check them out and back their Kickstarter so you can start giving faces to all of those characters that have only been in your head up until now.
That's right.
But guys, that's going to wrap it up for this one. So if you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, subscribe, hit the bell notifications so our new videos are coming out. Leave a comment down below to make sure you're entered in that giveaway as well. They're going to be doing a couple rounds of that. First one is still coming up.
Hey, the faster we get there, the faster we give it away, and the faster we get to the next giveaway.
Exactly.
So you got to recruit people.
We have tiers of giveaways we have planned for the future. So we're
grow
gonna
the
just keep doing them.
family.
We grow faster, we do more giveaways faster. So make sure you share and all that stuff. Let your players and friends all know. It's going to help everybody out and all of that. Got more news coming soon for you guys. More awesome videos and plans from when the Subclass series is wrapped up, which is only one more left as of
If you're watching these in order, if you've been with us for forever, this is
One
the
more
penultimate
official.
video.
One more official Subclass
Right.
until Ravenloft comes out. There'll be a couple more, and then we have plans. So stay tuned for that. And as always, guys, thanks for watching.